Utah's more than a touchdown favorite against Cincinnati in the game day matchup this week. And guess what? I know exactly why.
You are Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, your daily podcast on all things college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Locked On College Football. I'm your host, Spencer McLaughlin. Thank you all so much for making this your first listen or your first view every day. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily source to stay up to date with the biggest stories in this, the greatest sport on planet Earth. 3 games I am getting to. Am I going to make my prediction? That depends. That depends on how everything feels as I discuss Utah hosting Cincinnati, Texas hosting Vanderbilt. What a wild game that is to talk about. USC at Nebraska, under the radar matchup this week. That's all on today's show, which is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel right now. New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Utah, 8.5-point favorite, according to the aforementioned fine folks at FanDuel. Against Cincinnati, the Utes are the lower-ranked team in this game. Utah didn't quite crack my top 25 coming into this week. They'd be in the receiving votes camp, along with the likes of Memphis for my personal top 25, which you can check out at LockedOn_CFB on Twitter. But win this game, and lo and behold, no one will be able to keep Utah out. And the march towards making the college football playoff wouldn't necessarily have to include a trip to Arlington. It could. The road to get there, though, rather challenging when you've already lost to the teams that are ahead of you in the standings in Texas Tech and BYU. Is Texas Tech going to lose 2 more games? Maybe if Baron Morton doesn't stay healthy the rest of the season, they could lose 2 more games. They play Kansas State this week. They better watch out for that particular matchup. Kansas State is an improved football team. But Utah in this spot is favored by over a touchdown, and that might look strange. You look and see, wait, a 24 next to Utah's name, a 17 next to Cincinnati. Wait, how do you get here, Vegas? I know how. Cincinnati's rush defense has been pedestrian this year. Not a disaster area, but it's been slightly below average. 9th in the Big 12 this season. Utah, meanwhile, when they run for over 250 yards, they are 5-0. Not 150, 250. Now, they brought in a new quarterback, Devin Dampier, new offense. The underlying fundamentals, it's just a window-dressed version. They changed the outfit on the mannequin in the window, but it's still the same designer. It's still the same fundamental idea of how to win a football game. Kyle Whittingham wants to run the ball. Last week, the Utes, in a spot that I thought they would, got some frustrations out against Colorado. They ran for 422 yards. The Buffs have one of the worst defenses in the country this year, particularly defending the run. But if the Cincinnati defense cannot keep Utah from running the football, it's not going to happen. It just isn't. Not at home, not again. Now, this sounds very familiar because how many times, Big 12 fans, have you heard this description about Utah? They are just too good at home. And then they find a way to lose at home to BYU last year, other games last year, and Texas Tech earlier this year. Utah fans, look away. Avert your eyes. In my possession, I have the hat. I have the Utah hat. This Utah hat, when put upon this very head, I still haven't decided as I'm recording the show whether or not I'm going to go ahead and do it. The Utes are just 1-2. That's not very good. Utah at home, though, is favored by more than touchdown because of their ability to run the football. Devin Dampier is throwing for less than 200 yards a game. The passing attack, it's a little Michigan-esque. Utah is very much the Michigan of the Big 12. As long as there is adequate quarterback play, they have a very high floor. But if the quarterback play bottoms out, even a run-based offense can have its limitations. Michigan last year, 7-5. Utah last year, 5-7. So Devin Dampier is throwing for under 200 yards a game. He is yet to throw for 250 yards in a game this year. So in no world where I talk about the keys, the most important factors, I would never, ever. There are so many things. I would list almost anything before I'd say Devin Dampier's got to go off through the air. No, he does not. He absolutely, positively does not. Flip over to the other side of the ball, and Utah, that takes a lot of pride on the defensive side of things. That's always been Kyle Whittingham's calling card. His head coach in waiting, Morgan Scalley, current defensive coordinator. Opponents are running for 136 yards a game this year. When they allow 150 or more, they are just 1-2. Both of those losses have seen the opponent succeed on the ground to 150 or more. BYU went for over 200 in that game. Now, here's the sneaky thing. When you think about Cincinnati, you think about how surprising it is that they are in this position and they have played really good football this year. You think about how Brendan Sorsby has a 20-1 touchdown interception ratio, and he's spreading the ball around. He has 4 receivers with over 300 yards through the air this year. That's not a very common thing. This isn't some of the best passing offenses that just feed, at Alabama, it feels like it's Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, sometimes not necessarily in that order. At USC, it's Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane, and those guys are great. That's not the way Cincinnati rolls. Brendan Sorsby is playing very good football so far this season. He also runs the ball well. And here is this sneaky part of Cincinnati that those who have only watched them this year, which is probably not as many people as they should have, they probably don't know that Cincinnati runs for over 190 a game. And Brendan Sorsby is one of 3 Bearcats with over 450 yards on the ground. Everything about the Cincinnati offense is balance. They can run for short yardage. They can rip explosives. They can have a lot of different ways to hurt you in the passing game with a lot of different weapons. Everything is balance, versatility, spread the ball around, call the right play, and let Sorsby, a veteran at quarterback, go out there and be the point guard and facilitate. Reminds me of the old school NBA champion Boston Celtics with the big 3, the original big 3. You had Kevin Garnett, you had Ray Allen, you had Paul Pierce. Who was the guy that started every one of those possessions? Rajon Rondo. Was he a scorer? No. Was he a shooter? No. What did he do? He just sat at the top and facilitated, drove in and set guys up, ran the plays. That's what Brendan Sorsby is. That's not a knock. Rajon Rondo is one of my favorite NBA 2K players of all time, back when 2K was actually a playable video game. So Cincinnati has to be able to at least pull even or be close to Utah in the rushing battle in this spot. This game being at Rice-Eccles is tough. I'm happy Utah fans are going to get College Game Day in town and that whole experience, and that is great. I wanted to talk myself into Cincinnati. I did, but maybe it's my old Pac-12 roots coming out. Utah fans, look away. Look away, I'm doing it. The Utes. I am going with the Utes. Give me Utah to win. I do like Cincinnati. I think they're a good team. I think they've had an awesome season to this point. Scott Satterfield has saved his job. Might be the coach of the year in the Big 12, pending what happens with a certain team in Provo by the time the year comes to a close, or another team in Lubbock. But certainly, Satterfield is in the discussion. Many, like myself, had him predicted as a bottom 3rd team, and they are a top 3rd team. They've swapped with Kansas State. So give me Utah to win. I'll take Cincinnati. I might alter this later in the week. Just beware. 27-20. 27-20, I think Utah will get the win. Cincinnati covers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit me up on Twitter at @McLaughlinCFB. Arch Manning might not play, but what does that actually mean when Vanderbilt comes to town? First, this episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks and everything in between. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. And all of these games that I talk about here every single week. Tomorrow's show will be loaded with picks and best bets. The lines, of course, provided by FanDuel. If you think I'm wrong, hey, FanDuel is right there for you. It is ready. It is loaded. It has got all sorts of great information and opportunities. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com and sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Vanderbilt travels to Texas. It's a huge game, and Vanderbilt is the higher ranked team. Texas has not always been what they currently are, which is a program that has big expectations, or what they've historically been. They've had a lot of ebbs and flows. Texas, before Steve Sarkisian got there, it had been a minute since they'd won a Big 12 championship. That had been Oklahoma's domain. But the Longhorns, in any situation, I don't care if you're talking about the Charlie Strong era, the Tom Herman era. Vanderbilt being less than a field goal underdog in Austin is crazy. It is absolutely crazy. The story of the year last season in college football was Indiana, and this year it is Vanderbilt, without question. There are a lot of other great stories. Indiana's ascension, their win at Oregon, biggest in program history. Yep, bunch of great stuff there. Texas A&M finally get. Vanderbilt has been my entire life a laughing stock of a football program, and now Vegas thinks they're a sub-field goal road underdog at Texas. That's crazy. That's crazy. Arch Manning may or may not play in this game. I'm not here to report whether he does. I just have a question for Texas fans. Does Arch Manning significantly alter your confidence level in this game? For me, it does not. Now, Arch had maybe his best game ever last week against Mississippi State on the road. Cowbells were roaring, down 17 in the fourth quarter. He orchestrates that comeback. Texas gets the win. Big moment. Yeah, I can't even fake my way through that. It wasn't a big moment. It was avoiding a big disaster. That's what it was for the Longhorns last week. Still, it was tangible progress and the best I have seen Arch Manning play. Better than what he did in Red River, even though Oklahoma's defense is much better than Mississippi State's. To go on the road in an SEC game with a program that is hungry for its first conference win under Jeff Lebby and has just had their hearts ripped out of their chests for their last two losses to Florida and Texas. That was a team that looked ready for that moment, and then all of a sudden Texas said, oh, wait, nope. We're Texas. We're just going to go out, talent you in a couple spots, and go on a 17-0 run, get to overtime, game, set, match. Arch in that game was 29 of 46, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. I've been very critical of Arch Manning on this show this year because I have, wait for it, I've watched him play a lot of football this year, and it's been mostly really bad. Last week wasn't one of those days. The week before against Kentucky, however, it's easy to get caught in the moment. I was also watching when he went 12 of 27 at Kentucky, okay? And this is a Vanderbilt team that I don't think gets the right sort of reputation as a football team. But let me get to the Commodores a little bit later. So the presumed backup, my guess would be it's Matthew Caldwell, who's attempted all of 11 passes this year. He's completed 8 of them for 85 yards and a touchdown. He started the last 5 games of 2024 for Troy, went 3-2 in those games. He spent time at Iowa as well, so he's not new to college football. But when you watch Texas this year and the games they found a way to win, can Matthew Caldwell do what Arch did last week? Maybe not. When Texas has won games this year, has it usually looked like last week, or has that been the aberration? Because one of Arch's best statistical games wasn't one of his best games overall, but he threw for a decent number of yards, at least against Florida. He also turned the ball over multiple times in that one. But for Texas in this spot, I don't think that my pick, which I'm not confident enough yet to make, and that's going to be a Friday selection. I told you sometimes I like to get ready for these segments, have my notes about the game, and see if they're steering me towards a clear conclusion or if I need to wait and save it for Friday. Texas Vandy is going to have to save itself for Friday. But my decision on who I think wins the game will not be altered by whether Arch Manning is there. Vanderbilt is a darn good football team. I just don't think Texas is all that different with one guy versus the other. And maybe Matthew Caldwell goes and balls out and has one of those games where he, is the Trinidad Chambliss at Ole Miss. We all thought Austin Simmons was the guy. He gets hurt. Chambliss goes in, and Lane Kiffin goes, oh, I got 2 guys I can do it with. Okay, he's been rolling with Chambliss. I don't know if you've noticed. It's gone pretty well. So Texas, curiously enough, whichever quarterback is back there has to have the same primary objective. I know this is going to shock you to hear about a major game in college football, but Texas has to be able to run the football better. Now, notice I didn't say they have to outgain Vanderbilt. They just have to be able to support whichever quarterback is back there with the threat for play action passes and some easy completions for Steve Sarkisian as the play caller. That has to be there. Did you know that Texas has run for under 100 yards in 3 of their last 4 games? They have just they've got a lot of different backs, a bunch of different players run the football. They're all creative with the run game. It has not been effective. It has just straight up not been effective the last few games. That has to change. And you're going up against a Vanderbilt team, time to talk about the Commodores now, that runs for over 200 yards a game. And this is what I think people get wrong when they think about Vanderbilt. They picture Diego Pavia, and they picture magic, and they picture, oh my gosh, I can't believe this brand is inside the top 10 for the first time in many decades. People have gone their entire lives and have even passed on to the next life as college football fans without seeing what we are seeing right now, and that is top 10 Vanderbilt, and they deserve to be there. They're inside my top 10 as well. But it's not just Diego Pavia. Their defense played incredibly well last week against Missouri. Yeah, Bo Pribula got hurt. I didn't notice him tearing it up against the Commodores when he was in the game. Hopefully he's able to come back for Missouri the rest of the season. But Vanderbilt goes for over 200 a game. The Texas defense, though, oh boy, they allow 81 yards per game on the ground. 81. There's your pivot point. There is your stat, your thing to watch, number one key. I'm not going to put a firm number on it because Vandy doesn't always wow you with the stats in these big games, but you look up and they just find a way to win. There's a BYU quality to them where they're just a good collective football team that does enough but doesn't blow you out necessarily in a spot like this and just goes and does whatever is required, and they can do it. But Vanderbilt has to have some level of success. Again, not putting a hard number. They just have to be able to convert a 3rd and 2 on the ground when they want to, or stay ahead of the chains on 1st and 10. It's just got to be serviceable, and then you have to trust Diego Pavia can make some plays. Cedric Alexander and Diego Pavia against the Texas running backs collection, group of guys, whatever you want to call it. Big matchup in this game. In the one loss Vanderbilt has this year, which was on the road, they went to Alabama, and Jam Miller went for 136 yards. Jam Miller in the Alabama offense. I don't think it was a incredibly dominant day, but Alabama doesn't run the ball exceptionally well. That's not what Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb are about. It's not what their personnel are about. It is about Ty Simpson. It is about the wide receivers. And Jam Miller had kind of a pretty good game against this Vanderbilt defense. So how do they hold up? That running battle, that is the theme of today's show. Be able to win the rushing battle. Vanderbilt needs it, and Texas need it. Sorry, that was improper grammar. Let me back up. Vanderbilt and Texas both need it so that they can have a more complementary passing game. Utah needs it against Cincinnati so that they can just move the ball consistently. Those are 2 different ways to need a running game, but I think in this spot, whichever team is able to allow its run game to complement its pass game the best probably winds up winning the football game. But I'm stoked, and I'm excited for Vanderbilt to have this opportunity. There is still brand power and bias that has been baked into that burnt orange Longhorn logo. Texas will be back in my top 25 if they win this game. They will remain out of it for me if they lose, and hopefully Vanderbilt will get the credit they deserve if they go on the road and beat Texas. I will have my prediction for that game tomorrow. I don't need to wait to predict USC Nebraska. First, this episode brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes are sweating all the details. And Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every model. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but. From smooth handling to intuitive controls, why be bland, standard, ordinary, vanilla? Why be like everyone else when you can stand out? Mazda helps you do just that. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. Mazda's got you covered. And with winter around the corner, they have all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV. You can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like the players of your favorite team, they sweat every detail at Mazda, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. You ever hear that old fable, story, whatever you want to call it, of the tortoise and the hare. So the tortoise has the mantra, slow and steady wins the race. And then you have the rabbit that's hitting the accelerator. You think of the Energizer Bunny maybe in some form or fashion. The build that Nebraska is doing under Matt Rule is the tortoise. Clark Lee at Vanderbilt is the tortoise. Kurt Cignetti at Indiana. Jed Fish at Washington. A little bit more of the hare. Some little, okay, go, 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 go. The progress has been there. The development has been there. Nebraska's an improved team. They are not yet ready. They're getting there. I think they can get to where they want to go given time, but it's definitely slower progress than Cornhusker fans would probably like. So I don't have to wait for this entire segment to play itself out before I make this prediction, because I'm taking USC to win. I think they will cover as well. I just don't trust the Nebraska defense. In the 2 games that they have lost this year to Minnesota and Michigan, and I don't think Nebraska's a bad team. They could absolutely win this game. They have given up over 185 rushing yards in both of those games. Now, the Minnesota one on the road, I had flagged here on the show as a potential upset, and you had the Matt Rule rumors to Penn State and all that swirling around. Like, that's just never an easy thing for a football team to go through. No matter how much they say they ignore the noise, they can't entirely ignore the noise, and that looked like a distracted, out-of-sync football team. But they get back on the bike. They have just 2 losses. Nebraska, if they were to win out, sure, they'd go to the college football playoff. They're not a good enough team to do that. USC could be if they can find some success on the road. I'm not going to sit here, rewrite history, and tell you that USC struggled with Purdue earlier this year on the road. It just wasn't always as easy as it maybe could have been, given that Purdue is not very good. But the Cornhuskers have been this slow, steady build, and something that has been, I'm sure, frustrating for Cornhusker fans, especially given what's actually happened in Tallahassee. They lost their defensive staff. Mike Norvell hired him away. They have a replacement. It's not been as good. The over-under in this game, according to our friends at FanDuel, is 58.5. It is 58.5 because Nebraska's defense is straight up not good enough. Now, the offense can be. Dylan Raiola looks like a second-year quarterback who has made serious strides and can be poised for a breakout NFL draft potential caliber season in 2026. And I think that he can achieve those sorts of things. And he could have a big day in this one. You know, this is not USC going against Michigan where the Cornhuskers could run for 250, 300 yards, or, Michigan had a few more struggles than that. But Notre Dame went crazy on the ground, or Illinois' offense. I think this game is a lot like the Illinois matchup. Illinois is not as physical of a football team as they should be. Neither is Nebraska, and they just look different from what they were a season ago on the defensive side of the ball. And so for the Cornhuskers, I don't trust their offensive line, and I don't trust their defensive line. And when you're going against a Lincoln Riley team that we know can put up points, whose offense is in a rhythm, that can run the football, and whose defense has been up and down, Nebraska's defense, it feels like, has almost exclusively been down. They haven't been a full-fledged, Alex Grinch at Oklahoma or USC disaster, but they're pretty gettable. If they hold USC under 30 points in this game, that would be a legitimate accomplishment for the Cornhuskers. Maybe it would speak to their game plan. Maybe they're able to go out, run the football effectively, keep USC's offense on the sideline, because you know that you can run on this USC defense, but the Trojans have been up and then they have been down. Nebraska's defense, I just cannot get there. And so the Trojans' offense has been playing at a high level, and I don't frankly care who the running back is. I don't, because I've watched them place more of an emphasis in that area this year, and it's paid dividends. And Joel Klatt has pointed this out as well with regards to Lincoln Riley, that his Oklahoma teams had more success running the ball than you probably remember. But you had Kyler Murray, you had Baker Mayfield, and Jalen Hurts, and they were all Heisman finalists, and you thought about all that. They ran the ball, and they haven't done that at USC. It's clearly been more of an emphasis. The Trojans are improved up front on both sides of the ball, whereas I feel like Nebraska from last year has almost taken a step back, and they're not running the ball consistently. They have moments, glimpses, but they rely on Dylan Raiola a lot. And so if D'Anton Lynn's defense, which has got a couple playmakers, can force at least one, maybe they need 2, but probably only need 1 that leads to points, turnover in this spot, I don't think they just win the game against Nebraska. I think they cover, and that's what I'm predicting here. The Trojans offense, I just don't see them getting slowed down by this Nebraska defense with the way they've been played. I've got nothing to indicate that. If the Cornhuskers defense goes out and keeps USC under 20 points and they win the game, I will come on here and say, you know what? I got to eat crow, guys. I do. Nebraska could go to the college football playoff at 10-2 if they win the rest of their games because they've got this win over USC. I said could. I didn't say will. I said could. So that's what's on the line for Nebraska. Same applies to USC. They've still got Oregon on the schedule. The Trojans at 10-2 with their schedule down the stretch. If they win at Nebraska, who's not a great team, but is good. Nebraska is a good, solid team. If they do that and they add a win at Oregon later in the year, I don't see how USC isn't in the playoff at 10-2. But this feels like the Illinois game to me because USC has been through that once before. I trust them to come out the other side here with a victory. And Jade Mayav and those wide receivers have just been playing at a severely high level to the point where I trust them to go against an average defense at best, probably below average, if we're being honest here, even on the road, and go get a win. Now, that has been one of the biggest hurdles for this USC team. They were at Notre Dame, they lost. They were at Illinois, they lost. But then they came home, they played Michigan, and they won, probably their best win of the season so far. So can they go and find that road success? Can they do enough? And the quarterback that has the fewer turnovers in this game, I didn't say team, I said quarterback. If the quarterback with fewer turnovers in the game doesn't wind up winning, I will be very surprised. Because both these guys have got a little gunslinger mentality. Both these guys can throw the football really well. And I've also seen them have their issues with turnovers over the last couple of years from time to time. So Dylan Raiola and the Cornhuskers, I think you've got to be able to find a way to run the ball and keep USC's offense on the sideline. Your offense needs to help your defense. You've got to be able to play complementary football. If you can't, USC's offense has been playing at way too high a level. They've figured out the run game. Their defense has improved. I think that USC is going to go into Lincoln, win this game 34-20. Wait for it. 5. Just for fun. Just for fun. I'm going to go 34-25. Nebraska throws a 2-point conversion in there or a safety, something wild or weird like that, just for funsies. It happens every now and then. So I will take USC to win that game. I'm waiting on my Vanderbilt, Texas prediction until tomorrow's show. I think Utah will beat Cincinnati. Those are the picks that I'm confident in here today. I really do prep for these segments and then decide whether or not, as I'm recording the show, I decide whether or not I'm confident enough to pick a team on a Thursday. I have to feel really good about it. I feel really good about USC in this spot. We'll see if I make it a best bet. Best bets have been hot the last couple of weeks, and we've certainly needed that, but I think USC goes on the road and gets the win to stay inside the AP Top 25. Some people, me, never dropped them from that spot. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.